I've got a question for you. How often do you actually currently use AI at work? There's no wrong answers. I'm just intrigued. Look at this. I love this. Look at this. Every few hours, every day, every week. It's mad. I was thinking about having an even smaller, more granular option of like every few minutes, but it's a bit too much, maybe. But you can see, yeah, wow. Okay, so we are all heavy. I mean, obviously, we're to some extent we're biased, being here in the room. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Now, so my company Coglode is probably most famous for these. They are called nuggets. They're essentially bite-sized, distilled research papers around human behavior. We've produced lots of different ones, and you can see we're extracting information from the study and telling people how to use that research in their products and in their strategies. And so we've produced quite a few of them over the last 12 years. And I want to tell you a story. We're using 3 of them. And I want to start with this one here. It's a concept called prospect theory. And so prospect theory is a bunch of different things, but fundamentally, it's about how we deal with loss versus gain. Imagine this. If I gave you $10, £10, you would feel some level of joy for receiving that $10. But imagine another reality where you're walking down the street and you look into your pocket, you reach in there and you're searching for the £10 that you had, the $10, and you can't find it, and you've lost it. That pain, that anguish of losing the money, it feels way worse than the joy of getting it. And it's very evolutionarily adapted. We don't want to lose things. If you think about that £10, it's a resource. It allows us to buy food. It allows us to ultimately to survive. So it makes sense that we would feel a loss of something more than the gain, because we want to ultimately not die. This is a story about my background. I'm a designer, so predominantly, and also I'm a writer, having written all those nuggets over the last 12 years, and so on. I was just, over the last few years, just really using like ChatGPT, for instance, and seeing it grow, seeing it get better at copywriting. I was like, wow, this is really good. This is really good. This is getting really good. And then it got to an inflection point where I was like, oh God, it's really good. And I was like, oh, I feel a bit uncomfortable. I think I felt like I was losing something that I had spent so much time, so many years cultivating. As a writer, like ChatGPT was writing better than me on some level. It was writing faster than me, certainly. And I kind of felt like it was taking something away from me. And, ultimately the most difficult question I asked myself was, with AI becoming so powerful and so fast, what really was my value anymore? It was a really difficult and uncomfortable realization. And AI was not necessarily stealing anything from me, but it felt real. It felt like I was losing something as a result. And so I wonder, have you felt this sense of loss too? I felt this as a writer and a designer to some extent. I wonder if you have felt this in your own work. Yeah. It's natural. I mean, it goes quite deep as well. So most people will have felt that sense of loss because, there are these incredible new tools and we are, ultimately using, we're not used to using them necessarily. So prospect theory, loss, we feel it, it feels horrible, we clam up. And what do we do as a result behaviorally? We tend to cling to what we know. And we tend to exhibit something called the sunk cost bias, where we tend to cling on more or too long to the past. to our time and energy invested into things that we thought we were good at. We become very comfortable with our idea of what we were good at, and we are a bit afraid of the future as well. So it makes sense. It makes sense that we would safely stick with what we know. But being stuck with trying to contain and hold on to the past keeps us in the middle, and it's a danger. And you can see it actually quite a lot in lots of different ways. You know, you could be, I've spent 20 years at this job, and, you know, I don't like the job, not really, you know, but I've been doing it for so long that I'm actually just, it's hard for me to let go of. Same with hobbies, same with any sort of pet projects, or even relationships. You know, maybe the relationship isn't satisfying, but we have invested so much time and energy into it, actually, it's hard to let go of. And so, you know, I ask myself, like, am I holding on to the way I used to think about my identity because it's still valuable, or just because I've just invested so much time? And it's natural to feel that way if you have. But I would say to you this: there are moments that can break these sunk costs. And for me, this was my moment that allowed me to break through in this AI world. It was a website by a lady called Emily Campbell called Shape of AI. And on this website, she highlighted a whole bunch of new concepts and considerations for how to design in an AI world. Concepts that I'd never heard of, you know, just brackets or groups of things that I'd never understood. It was too...
Jerome, it might have been muted a bit. Wait.
Sorry, yeah, I think I've been unmuted.
There.
Yeah, so if just to clarify, this website had a whole new language about the UX of AI, and it offered a whole bunch of new ways and lenses to see how to design. And it piqued my interest. But it was so new, all these concepts were so new to me, these terms were so unfamiliar, but I found it hard to integrate them into my work. And here's the thing: we can't have it both ways. You know, in order to embrace this new world, we have to loosen our grip on the old. You know, as much as that applies to our professional lives, it also applies to our personal lives too. And so, to take that leap, we need something special. Consider this scene. In that barn over there, something's afoot. And yet we cannot cross that police line. No. But we are hardwired to want to and find out what's going on. This is called the curiosity effect. We are hardwired to close the gap between what we know now and what we don't, what's in that barn. And again, it comes back to these evolutionary foundations of wanting to understand threat and try and work out what it is there that could be a danger. So you see it as in an evolutionary lens, but also you see it even in modern product design. Consider this. This is actually from Bumble, the dating app. You have some information about what's there, but they're piquing your curiosity because they're not giving you full information about the people who like you. But you can close that curiosity gap by spending $10 a month to see who's liked you. So curiosity is a really powerful thing, and actually, in a way, is a superpower. It allows us to turn our fear and our discomfort into a fuel for change, into a fuel for renewal and growth. And I want to show you a really good example of how curiosity is playing out in this AI world with this simple illustration. There's a researcher called Abi Owomozu, and she has put together this map. This is the map of how humanity really uses AI in lots of different ways. How people have been curious and lent into the different ways that AI can help us, whether that's from building a new identity, gender, what's my purpose in life, etc., through to things like how to use AI to maybe help me with my life admin or my health coach, or just some sort of life support ultimately. But the area that I was really interested in this diagram was around creativity. And there were some fascinating new ways that people were being curious about AI and leaning into it to help reimagine how to be creative in this AI world. From AI being a co-creator to AI potentially giving you the courage to take first steps in the art world, to AI potentially allowing you to genre jump through to different, if you're a writer, maybe there's something you can do that moves beyond writing. And also things like being good enough, AI as a tool or an assistant to help overcome perfectionism. All these different new interesting ways that people lent in to and being curious about how AI can help them creatively. And for me, it was really interesting to see this. And I thought to myself, okay, curiosity, I realized, is a form of play. And this, I would say that of all the slides in this presentation today, I think this is the most important one, and I would encourage you to listen carefully. Play teaches us a flexibility to face up to and live with the changing world, like right now. Being in play, in a state of mind that says, I wonder what might happen if I tried this, and then not worrying about the outcome, is a state of mind that can cope with the unexpected. That was a quote by Michael Rosen, who's a writer, actually. And he precedes AI, by the way. And I thought to myself, that's a brilliant way to think about dealing with discomfort, about dealing with uncertainty, about play is your opportunity for taking action, and it's your best strategy for future protection against change. So, taking that approach going forward, I want to show you 3 experiments that I've taken in my work at Coglode. And I want to show you them incrementally, so starting with a simple experiment and then essentially building and moving further and further away into the discomfort zone. So the first experiment I want to share with you is the concept of AI as almost like a finishing touch or a finishing school for an idea. So at Coglode, we do lots of training and for behavioral science. And so as part of our train the trainer programs, we have lots of different trainers who run our trainings. We wanted a novel, interesting way to help our trainers explore the various case studies of behavioral science, applied behavioral science. And so we had this Miro board called Coglode Village, where people could go in and explore different case studies. Spotify Festival, there's a shop selling a single book, there's TikTok Tower, there's a burger chain here selling interesting behaviorally designed menu, there's interesting stuff around IKEA, but ultimately it was a much more visual way of allowing our trainees to explore at their leisure different case studies of behavioral science. And so we started with this, and it was very well received, and one of my main trainers, John, and I were like, okay, so that was, Coglode Village was popular, but how could we push it further? And, last year we were asked to design a behavioral training for, of all things, change management. I mean, there's lots of behavioral science at play within change management. For about 60 senior leaders, so it was on Miro, and it was for 60 people live. And what we needed to do is create a new place where the team could go and explore, just like the village. A new place the team could go and explore. And what we came up with was this. It was called Barrier Island. It was a 6-zone theme park in Miro that exposed the 6 common behavioral barriers that prevent teams from changing. And so, again, it was in Miro. It was very wild. So you go to the island, and you then go and explore the different rides in the theme park, and understand the behavioural science. Each ride is essentially a behavioural principle, a behavioural barrier preventing change. So the teams would go around, explore at their leisure, and find out about these different barriers to organisational change. After that, they would go through and we'd come up with strategies for overcoming those barriers. So for each barrier, there would be a bunch of different behavioural insights that you could use to solve for it, and they would come up with ideas to solve some of their clients' problems around organisational change. So it was good. It worked. Our job was done, right? No, absolutely not. Curiosity kicked in, and we thought, well, how could we use AI as a finishing touch? A playful bow, a cherry on top of the cake on this tropical adventure. So, given the aesthetic, as a writer, I wrote a song about these 6 behavioural barriers, and I used a tool called Suno, which is a music generation AI tool, to come up with a dancehall marimba-style earworm that we could use to market the training. And so, after a lot of lyrical back and forth, we settled on this. And let me play it to you. I'm not going to play all of it, and there'll be a link at the end to watch the full video, but I just want to show you some of it.
Welcome to Barrier Island, where your past prevents you from taking the highland to a future that is so much better than now. Welcome to the Black Hole Hotel, where your yesterdays build you a personal cell. The longer you linger, the deeper your woes, and the roof pulls you in with nowhere to go. Welcome to Barrier Island, where your past prevents you from taking the highland to a future that is so much better than now. Step right up to the devil, it's a rickety ride, but hey, it's home. There's shinier tracks that are smoother way, but why risk a fall when you're so today? Welcome to Barrier Island, where your past prevents you from taking the highland to a future that is so much better than now.
Okay, I will give you a link at the end to the full video, but the principle is that for us, it's worth noting that our use of AI here was never the main part of the meal. It was a garnish. It was a finishing garnish. The whole island was designed in Figma. It was built out in Miro. It was animated, as you can see here, in Rive, and a little musical topping from Suno. So very much as a finishing touch. Just to quickly, before we move on, I have an earworm test. I wonder if you can just entertain me. Oh, no, we're not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. We're going to move straight on. Ignore that. Okay, so that's Barrier Island, experiment 1. And we thought, okay, so AI is a finishing touch. It's fun. It works. It gets lots of attention on social media. But what could we do next? And we wondered actually how we could use AI more deeply as a storyteller, as a storytelling device. And so the example here is a concept that we did for Monzo, a UK bank. So Monzo have this is how the app currently looks. So they have a feature called pots, where essentially you can round up your money to the nearest pound when you spend, and it will automatically go into the pot. It's a very powerful, behaviourally powerful feature. But for such an important thing for people to do, save money and maybe save up for something emotionally valuable to them, like a house or a car or a holiday, there wasn't much going on here in terms of taking people on a journey. You could just set the image, the thumbnail of the pot, and you would see the progress indicator at the bottom there. And we thought, man, there's an opportunity to really take people on a proper savings journey. There's no sense of narrative here that there could be, because you're saving for maybe weeks and months at a time. You want to see the progress. You want to feel that sense of storytelling in your savings journey. So we came up with this. So this is a concept called story pots. And you basically choose your saving story. So here we've got 3 different potential stories that you can choose from: a giant oak, and a rainy day, and in this case a bike. And so you choose one of those stories, and then essentially as you start saving, the story unfolds. And this is a very simple one. So the umbrella, for a rainy day, the umbrella is slowly built out over time, and so by the end you are, protected from becoming soaked when that dark day comes. Similarly, if you are wanting to save for something significant in the future, the metaphor of a sapling turning into a giant oak gives you that nice sense of growing something big and strong over time, and seeing that tree grow is satisfying. But the one that really interested me was the bike. Saving for a bike. Wouldn't it be great to see your bike slowly get built as you got closer to your goal? And you could see your dream literally coming into reality as you got close to that savings goal. And we thought, well, the idea, the concept itself is strong, but how could we tell a better story? Maybe a song about saving for a bike. So I'm going to play it to you. I'm going to play it to you this time in full, and because I want you to see the story fully for itself, and then I'll tell you what happened afterwards.
Starting small, overnight, as money saved, it's pure delight. Spoke out of turn, I did not know when it would end, where I would go. Each pound is precious, don't chuck it in a hole. Gonna get that cycle, gonna reach my goal. Pump up my dreams through ups and downs, over steep hills, through cobbled towns. Bring back that color into my face. Are these days brighter? Have I found my place? 'Cause each pound is precious, don't chuck it in a hole. Gonna get that cycle, gonna reach my goal. Can I go faster? Pedal to the floor. It's time to shift gears, it's time to soar. Don't settle me with broken dreams. Too much too soon, these get more schemes. Yeah, each pound is precious, don't chuck it in a hole. Gonna get that cycle, gonna reach my goal. Let me handle my life with ease. I want control, I wanna feel that breeze. Now is the time to set me free. We're almost there now, as you can see. Each pound is precious, don't chuck it in a hole. Gonna get that cycle, gonna reach my goal. Can I go faster? Pedal to the floor. It's time to shift gears, it's time to soar. Don't settle me with broken dreams. Too much too soon, these get more schemes. Yeah, each pound is precious, don't chuck it in a hole. Gonna get that cycle, gonna reach my goal. It's taken effort, had to say no. The bike is built, now are you ready to go? I started small, I focused hard, and now I've made it, no credit card. So those pounds were precious, didn't chuck them in a hole. I got my shiny new cycle, I reached my goal. Got my shiny new cycle, think I hit my goal. Got my shiny new cycle, think I pushed my goal.
Okay, so when I went through that process and that song got created, I cried. I've never cried at my own work before, and I did, and it really made me quite emotional. I cried twice. It was crazy. How could AI make me feel that way? And it felt like, I don't know, it unlocked something new in me. And I don't know, it was just so special. And I'm so grateful for that moment. And I don't think it would have been possible without AI. Anyway, what felt like a loss was really a gain in disguise. And yeah, it really, really was quite profound. And I can't even hide my emotions now, because it was genuine. And, I've been a designer for 20 years, and it was really, really powerful. Gosh, apologies. So, far from feeling fear, this curiosity and playful nature led me to this place. And we have been making these nuggets for the last 12 years. And, what could we do here? Like, going full circle, how could we extend this language that we built? How could we take it further and use AI as an extension? And almost use AI to extend what Coglode does so well. And we built a new AI platform called Coglode Intelligence. And the way it works is that essentially you ask it questions, and it analyzes the question and brings back the behavioral science that's appropriate, and then applies it to solve that problem at a behavioral level. For various different business problems, how can I boost dwell time in my theme park? What are the ethical considerations of scarcity in marketing? How do banks help people save more money? All those sorts of questions that you probably want answers to that have a behavioral lens applied. And so, for instance, in this case, this is one of the features in it called a cheat sheet, where essentially give me a cheat sheet of nuggets that help me comply with the latest consumer duty regulations. And it basically analyzes the question, it pulls back the right tool, which is the cheat sheet in this case, and it pulls down all the nuggets that are relevant for this case, and it solves for that particular problem through a behavioral lens. And so we couldn't do this. We couldn't have done this before, pre-AI. It was just not possible to do this. Cheska won't have seen this because we just literally we just built it today. But this is Coglode Intelligence now within Miro. It's not in there, but yet. But it's literally we finished this build about an hour ago. So basically, you give it your context from the canvas on the board. It then analyzes it, asks for your goal, and then you choose. I can go through it again, actually. Yeah, you give it the context of the canvas, assesses the goals, you choose the behavioral goal that you want, encourage repeat purchases, and then it comes back with a behavioral cheat sheet to then run a workshop with. So all your ideas can be put through a behavioral lens. It's still work in progress. It's clearly not finished. But for us, it was like, oh my God, this is a powerful new way to bring behavioral science to product design, to strategy, all sorts of things. And as always, we wanted to push things further. AI provides us the opportunities to create new forms of play that are only possible now. They weren't possible before. And here's one of the other features within Coglode Intelligence I want to share with you. And it's called Mix. So Mix takes basically a line of copy and it analyzes it behaviorally, and it brings back the nuggets that it thinks are most relevant for that line of copy. And essentially the aim is to make that line of copy more persuasive, but doing so in a playful way. So I just want to show you how it works. So here we've got, please donate to Doggy Rescue. It's analysed and it's come back with 3 nuggets that can be used to play with and augment the copy. So you can increase the amount of framing, that you can increase the level of the identifiable victim bias. So, and just play around with and get that right balance of that behavioural weighting, but it's much more interactive. There's about like 72 or 74 different versions. Also here you can see though that we're pushing things to the limit, and we're saying no, don't go this far. It may cause emotional strain and reduce trust. So this also offers us opportunities to teach people when too much behavioural science can apply. And then we copy and paste it and take it wherever we want. But like this is not possible without AI. So I'm really excited to release cognitive intelligence soon and allow everyone to play with behavioural science like never before. I want to finish the talk. We'll have some Q&A. I'm sure there's lots of questions, but I want to address some of the common fears around AI, and I want to reframe them with a bit of behavioural science. So I'm going to take you through 6. And I imagine that these are a series of obstacles that you will all have to overcome at some point in some form along your AI journey. And maybe you've already overcome them. Let's see. So the first one of these is an initial resistance to AI. And it feels like from the first question that we asked around how much you use it, none of you are here. It's AI or me. And this really comes from a place of what's called binary thinking, where we tend to oversimplify choices into A or B options, both of which tend to be quite extreme, and neither are actually very good or desirable. The reframe here, and I hope you all have got to this point already, is the concept of not AI or me, but AI and me. We can coexist. It doesn't have to be a fight or a battle. Some people who are particularly creative are also quite defensive, and they shut down to the idea of AI at all. But I think it's probably better to have a more nuanced and thoughtful approach to it, because it's not going away. So that's the first one. So you say you overcome that initial AI or me barrier. What next? So you're in. Well, the rate of change in the AI space, I don't know about you, but it is, for me, I find it chaotic. It's growing exponentially as AI tools are building AI tools. A lot of people are saying AI is overwhelming, and what they're experiencing there is analysis paralysis. There's so much chaos, and we're trying desperately to manage it. Things are changing rapidly, and staying up is incredibly hard. Analysis paralysis says that if we're faced with too much information, we will tend to eventually just shut down, because we can't process that much information. The reframe here is a very human one. It's really to recognise that it's almost impossible not to be overwhelmed. And to be overwhelmed actually is the right thing to feel right now, and it's actually very human. So if you do feel overwhelmed, I'm sure that a lot of people in this room will be similarly inclined, and actually you're doing it right. If you're not overwhelmed, you're doing it wrong, I would say. So yes, it's just a bit of an empathic lens to view this incredible and overwhelming rate of change that we're going through right now. So you're overwhelmed. Okay, fine. So what next? Well, you see all these posts on LinkedIn of people using AI and pressure from the senior management team to use AI in everything, and you feel that you're playing catch up. Sometimes it's hard to get started. I hear this a lot. And the solution to overcome this fear of also, obviously, always playing catch up is the concept of tiny habits. So instead of trying to make massive changes and ripping everything out and replacing it with AI, instead make a smaller commitment. People get overwhelmed. Make a smaller commitment to doing small experiments. Hopefully some of the examples that I showed you show, AI wasn't essential, but it was additional. Using AI in small ways to help build your confidence and rebuild, ultimately, your creative identity. Yeah, so I think that it's a really nice way. It doesn't have to be extreme. It can be incremental, and you can play and lean into your curious mind slowly. So you're making experiments, and you dive in deeper, and as you run these experiments, you realize, wow, geez, like AI has like more and more power over time, and there's a real fear around losing control. I think it's a very natural fear. The autonomy bias says that we are hardwired to seek out control ourselves as humans, especially in terms of our future. And I think this fear needs reframing too. And I think that ultimately, on some level, yes, the amount of AI output may grow, but ultimately we are always in control. AI may generate, but you orchestrate. And I think that now you're operating at a higher level with more power than before, not less. And so you've got power, you've got control, you're orchestrating. And as everyone gets more power, and as everyone orchestrates, they generate more output. And there's pushback, because a lot of the output generated isn't very good. The slopification of content, it's all slop, they cry. And so they should, because as creative people, if we value our output over the last 20 years or so, we have developed a very fine, honed sense of taste, and we should protect that. And the contrast effect says that we will we look for things that stand out against their surroundings. So the more slop there is, the more opportunity there is for you to let your taste come through. So the reframe is, yes, output is cheap, but taste stands out more than ever. So it's a massive new opportunity to redefine yourself and stand out from the crowd. So you're standing out from the crowd, but you're faced with a boss level fear. With AI generating so much, that deepest, most profoundly destabilizing question that I opened up with earlier rears its ugly head. Like, what really is my value now? The concept of self-expression in behavioral science says that we are hardwired to express our identity to others. And that's never going to go away. So really, the reframe here is that AI will never replace you. It will only extend you. And I hope that the examples that I've showed you earlier show how you can take the best of your own talents and use AI to extend them further and not replace you. I feel like they give a good example of that. And together, these fears, they are real, they are raw, but hopefully if you can overcome them, there is a new creative identity on the other side. And I would ask you, personally, which of these have you felt yourself? Please join me and see if you can answer some of these questions. Playing catch up. It's also sloppy. Yeah, there is a lot of slop. Overwhelmed. What's my actual value? Nice. I think it's impossible not to feel like you're playing catch up, by the way. Really interesting. Okay. In the interest of time, I will move us on. Thank you. So, zooming out. This has been a full cycle of fear and loss through to letting go of sunk costs, through curiosity and renewal. Because, and as you can see, it's affected me profoundly, like emotionally. Because if you are willing, if you are able to go through that process, there is a whole amazing playground on the other side of fear. And I think it's incredibly exciting to think that you can go through that process yourself personally. And I'm really excited to hear about if anyone else has been through this process themselves. We only have 15 minutes for chatter, but I wish we had more. But we also do have, we've put together a playground where you can drop in your thoughts and your ideas. I've got some books that I recommend, some of the nuggets that we talked about regarding the science behind the fear. Some, if you want to get in contact with me, please do. And if you want to find out more about those experiments as well that I shared with you, they're all in there as well. But yeah, and this, by the way, is the very first of the Miro Reframe sessions. Very happy and proud to be the first one. They're running every Thursday until the end of March. So if you like this one, then I'm sure you will love what's next too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jerome. That was amazing. I felt that was such a thank you for being super vulnerable with
Oh my
everyone.
God, I cried.
Yeah, we could definitely see that. I think more than
Yeah,
the crying bit, I was just struck by all the earworms that you shared. And honestly, like there were a lot of really nice tips there in terms of how we could also be a lot more conscious about how we're viewing AI, the fear that and anxiety that's attached with it, and reframing it in a much more positive and opportunistic lens. And even the part on you don't really need a full master plan. I think that was personally that's something that struck me. Like you just need to build tiny habits as you go in terms of how you experiment and add to the work that you're already doing and use AI to sort of either extend or add a bit of different flavor to what it is that you're really good at. So thank you so much for sharing that. And we have 10 minutes, so this time is really meant for everyone to pop in your questions, share. If you're willing to share your own personal thoughts about your journey and how your identity has sort of been reshaped or reframed with AI. We'd love to hear from you. Actually, I can also see some familiar faces here. So, questions, anyone?
Yeah, I mean, I have a question. Is that okay just to chip in with a audio and video, Cheska?
Yes, yeah,
Oh,
we can
cool. Anyway, Jerome,
all this.
thank you so much. I mean, there's so much great design and everything in there. So, especially thank you for that. And I felt a lot of the kind of things, anxieties that we've seen. And one of the things I've been talking to people about, as someone who's been in creativity like yourself for a while, we talk a lot about diverge and converge, this kind of is sort of central to how we think about creativity. And one of the concerns, and maybe this isn't a direct question, maybe this is something for your thoughts and input, is around, there's a fear that part of actually sitting with something, and we have a lot of ideas, but actually if AI gives us or we feel like AI gives us answers quickly, then there's something lost in that pausing bit where we've got to sit with things,
yeah,
where we've got to do the kind of the diligence and the taste and the nuance part. Because I think, someone mentioned about the collapse between sort of converge and diverge. And in creativity, that needs a little bit of time and space. And I just wondered what you thought about that. And I think you've touched on some of that anyway, but I wondered if you could
yeah.
react on
Thank
that.
you. It's a great question because tomorrow I'm meeting up with someone to talk exactly about this particular issue. It relates. So there's the converge and diverge, and basically I use AI and as a kind of almost like a design partner. So I use it as a sounding board, and as you well know, it may take you quite some time to come up with an idea and formulate it and structure it into some sort of coherent form. Then you pass it to AI, and the response is immediate. And I get it, like it's convenient that it's immediate, but then it provides a lot of information that you as a human being need to then process, make sense of, internalize, and then work on. But I found that the designer to AI loop is incredibly tight. The feedback loop is incredibly tight, and it puts a lot more emphasis on you just taking the output of AI and running with it. And you do lose something. It's more tiring. So I think there's a high rate of burnout by using AI, actually. I do think that if you get through the day, I don't know if anyone else has felt this, but like I'm using AI as a sounding board. I get probably more work done, potentially, but I'm feeling much more tired at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that's what my talk is about tomorrow with someone else who's researching this AI-based burnout. And also, yeah, good ideas need percolation. Good ideas require the dust to settle. And I think that if you, there is definitely something to be said for not allowing for that space, that breathing room. And I think we risk losing the soul of an idea if we don't let it grow over time. Potentially, I don't know, not to be dramatic, but I agree. Yeah, so it's interesting. I don't have the answer, but like I imagine that just merely acknowledging the tight feedback loop is probably is at least the first step.
Yep, agreed. Thank you, Jerome.
Cool,
Appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for the question, Steve. I think Alexander's next. You also have a question. Just feel free to unmute.
Yeah, it's in the, you can hear me all?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. It's in addition to what you're just talking about. I'm from point of view from AI coaching, and that's what I notice with very much tools that when you sit behind it and you go into the conversation, it's really overwhelming. And just to share the solution that we've done is to take out the coaching conversation out of the conversation with AI and put it into email and put a timer between the reactions. So you actually get to sit with the feedback that you get from the AI. And I feel it's the same energy that's necessary to absorb all the creative feedback that you get from an AI. So it's like a step backwards. Not the most modern way of communicating, but it works really well. And I think you could... I'm this, how do you call it, solution thinking kind of guy. If you want to use it in for your situation for creativity, I think connecting it with a Slack channel or team channel would also be able to slow it down. So you have to sit with it even more and not be eager to go for the next question, but being forced to sit with it. So it's really, I see the parallels, and I really commend you and compliment you on pointing it out, because I see it in the coaching side as well. It's very overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're feeling it. I guess you feel it intuitively at the end of the working day. And yeah, I have to say personally, like I feel like the verbosity of all the agents is just exhausting, because I'm then having to like figure out and like weed out the bits of value, and I'm having to do more work cognitively to process all that information. It doesn't come for free. It's gonna like I'm gonna experience analysis paralysis. I'm gonna, you know, it's more information, more problems potentially.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the insight. It's good to see the parallel notifications. Thank you.
Nice.
For the question, I think we have time for one more. No one has their hands raised, but I think Ziana did ask a bit of a practical question. What model are you using, and do you note any differences, Jerome? And she's also mentioned that she's concerned about the other uses of AI that aren't quite benign, especially when used in certain industries like law enforcement. So maybe let's start with the practical question first. Preferred model and tools, any differences when it comes to the creative work you're doing?
So we're using OpenAI's APIs for our tools. They seem to work pretty well, and I think, you know, for us, it's partly about the model and the speed of the model and the cost of the model, but it's also for us like we don't just want to just have a layer that sits on top of an LLM. Like we do want to create new types of product as well. So it's as much about the design of how that model is then incorporated into a product that people can use easily. Like we have these three axioms, these kind of truths that we have to run everything through. So is what we're doing useful? And I think the model, some of the models are more useful and less useful. I think they're all pretty much like quite useful now. Some of them are more noisy than others, and then it's like, is it easy? Is the way that our AI tool works, and the information that's coming back, is it easy to process? Is the interface easy to use? That becomes the secondary thing. And also, ultimately, like the model that we'll choose, the third thing is it allow us to be more playful? Because for me, it's like, I don't think it's enough to just have use AI as a utilitarian thing. It should allow us to play and enjoy our work more than we could before. And I think should be pushing it towards that. So we're going to be picking out models and that are going to allow us to do that. And partly that's speed, partly that's cost, but also it's not just about the model. It's about how you use it and how you design with it. So and that has almost nothing to do with the model. So yeah, I think that's also worth considering, if that makes sense.
That simple framework, especially when it comes to building AI tools, just makes so much sense. And I love like the case study that you showed earlier on how you you apply the very human and tactile feel to using AI as a tool to edit how you copyright and even teach people how to do it better. So that's sort of framing and how useful it is, how easy it is, how playful it can be. It's just such an interesting framework to have. Okay, 1 minute in, I think aside from thanking Jerome again, let's all give him a round of applause. Even if everyone's on mute, just try to unmute yourselves and just give say thank you to Jerome.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you, Jerome.
I'm
Appreciate
seeing
that.
names
Thank
that I
you.
recognise,
And we
let's
also want to
continue the
take
chat.
this time to thank everyone for joining us. We really hope this was something useful for you, and we hope to see you in the next sessions. We've shared some goodies in the chat, so feel free to explore our playground, add your own resources there. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next one. And please connect with Jerome on LinkedIn. He probably has a lot more useful things to share. Everyone.
No pressure.